After this computer. One more. Here we go. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Roger Paul, and tonight we're going to continue our study of paper 110, Relation of Adjuster to the Individual Mortals. Couldn't remember the end of that. And that's on page 1204 in the original book, or paper 110, second section, paragraph. We're on paragraph 2, but I'm going to reread paragraph 1 because there's something here on the end of it I want to mention from last time, and it kind of fits together with tonight's study. So let me read through this from last time. 2, adjusters and the human will. When thought adjusters indwell human minds, they bring with them the model careers, the ideal lives that determined and foreordained by themselves, and the personalized adjusters of Divinington, which have been certified by the personalized adjuster of Urantia. And we talked about this last time. Now, the personalized adjuster of Urantia is Michael's adjuster, remember, when he was on the earth. So thus they begin their work with a definite and predetermined plan for the intellectual and spiritual development of their human subjects, but is not incumbent upon any human being to accept this plan. You are all subjects of predestination, but it is not foreordained that you must accept this divine predestination. You are at full liberty to reject any part of the Thought Adjusters program. It is their mission.
Don't worry about it. I'll read it from here.
Oh, me. Join meeting. Y'all, give me a second.
Okay.
My wife just disconnected herself.
It's so easy.
Okay. Come on.
I'll do it.
It's not taking it. Very good. Okay. Where was I? You are all subject to predestination, but it is not foreordained that you must accept this divine predestination. You need to mute. You are at full liberty to reject any part or all of the Thought Adjusters program, and it is their mission to effect such mind changes that it makes such spiritual adjustments as you may willingly and intellectually authorize, to the end that they may gain more influence over the personality directionization. But under no circumstances do these divine monitors ever take advantage of you or in any way arbitrarily influence you in their choices and decisions. The adjusters respect of your sovereignty of personality. They are always subservient to your will. So even though there's a predestined destiny for each and every one of us, we don't have to follow that destiny. That's all about free will. So if it's not in your will that you follow the Thought Adjusters leading, that's totally up to you. It is only when you decide you want to do the will of God over your own will that you will be following this predestination. Okay, so people say, well, if it's all predestined, why do I have to make decisions? The whole point is that by making decisions, you are effecting this predestination, which is.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Rodney.
I'm just curious. In Nebadon, Michael is the personalized adjuster of Jesus only for Urantia in Nebadon? And if not, the other planets in his universe, what other personalized adjusters would it be from the magisterials?
You
So-
hit it right on the head, right on the
Okay.
head, Rodney. Our adjuster is Jesus of Nazareth because he was our bestowal son of this planet,
Correct.
right?
Okay.
So on all the other planets, whoever gets the job of being the bestowal son, that would either be a magisterial son or a Trinity teacher son, when mostly they're magisterial sons. But they would be there if they get adjusters to do their bestowal, those adjusters would become the adjusters in charge on that planet.
Permanently.
Permanently,
Okay.
right? Now, on our planet, it's different because our planet's adjuster was the creator son. Okay. So when we reach light and life, that creator son's adjuster will be released to be our head of the finaliters for all of our local universe.
So that leads me to another question.
Go ahead.
It appears to me that our planet, our solar system, will reach light and life before our sun goes out.
Yeah, I would think so. But realize, Rodney, but our sun may never go out. Okay, even though they predict the sun's is halfway through its cycle, the mechanical physical controllers of all the universes can reignite a sun or a planet at any time they choose to, right? That's how powerful they are. So if our sun starts to burn out, they could, since this is the planet of the cross, could decide they don't want it ever to run out, so they re-energize it. You know, it's hard for us to understand that the sun is just molecules, just like every other planet, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so their manipulation of these molecules on the quantum level can re-energize these planets, and these molecules will just what a good example of this was, what was that doctor we watched last night, the physicist? I can't think of his last name. Keku or something like that. Anyway, he was talking about string theory. And under string theory, there's some problems, and we all know this. They've already figured out, the scientists have already figured out that the Big Bang, it doesn't hold up, doesn't hold water. Okay. We know that the Big Bang is actually the respiration of the universe out 2 billion years and back in, right? So that theory, because they all thought this because of the theory of relativity. And we have to remember that Einstein built the theory of relativity on a flat model. Okay, the universe is not flat. He also built it on a circular model. So if you look at E equals mc squared, it holds up perfectly if you have everything in perfect circles. But what do we know about the universe from the Urantia book?
Yeah, it's on a plane, but
It's on
it's
a
not.
plane, but it's not a circle, is it? It's a big oval, right? It redoes itself billions and billions a year. So it's like a big circle that's oblong. So it looks like kind of a platter rather than a circle, right? This changes the whole theory of relativity. Okay, those two things. Now, the string theory is different. I don't want to get into physics and everything, but the string theory goes at the molecular level, like every single molecule is like a big rubber band that vibrates. Okay, and scientists are discovering right now they can, by manipulation of the vibration of the molecules, it creates other molecules. Okay,
Frequency.
and frequency, right? This is a perfect example of the theory I keep putting out there to y'all, that we live on 3 dimensions. Okay, the physical dimension is the molecular level. Okay, so everything finite through the universe is on a molecular level, either 100 molecules or 1,000 molecules. Okay, we know the 100 molecules is for the 7 super universe, and the 1,000 molecules is what? for paradise and Havona, right? Okay, so that's the physical. What's superimposed as a dimension? We're not talking about a multiverse. I don't buy the multiverse theory. I'd let y'all know the multiverse is like there's multiple universes in the same thing. That's not what I'm fixing to tell y'all. Okay, the dimensions that are superimposed on one another is the Morontia dimension. That's the dimension we wake up in when we go to the mansion worlds, right?
Mhm.
The Morontia dimension is living in a totally new reality that's superimposed on what? The finite reality.
Correct.
Correct? Okay.
Mhm.
The spiritual dimension, the next dimension we will go to when we leave the local universe, we step into the spiritual dimension. That's superimposed on both the Morontia and the physical
Material. Correct.
material, right? So we, in essence, living in this planet, we're living in a planet that is everything we conceive of or see or feel or hear or anything else is what? Physical,
Physical.
right? Molecules, like what the sun's made out of, what the earth's made out of, what all of our little bodies that fall apart too early are made up of, right? But in reality, even on this planet, there's a superimposition of what? Two other realities. And what are those?
The Morontian spiritual.
You got it, man.
No,
You're genius.
Because our souls are Morontia.
Our souls are Morontia, right?
So there is Morontia here.
There
Well,
is
that's-
Morontia here. That's what we're building. When our soul goes on to the mansion world, it's no longer physical, is it? It's in the Morontia existed. And that's why the guardian angels have to transport our soul that we're building on this life to the mansion world so it can be plugged into what? Our new body.
Because it's still got physical in it, but it's a Morontia.
Different. It's different than
Transition.
it's transition. That's right. It's different than just the physical. Okay. Now I'm gonna bring it right back to this paper tonight, right now. What is the thought adjuster?
Spiritual.
Spiritual, is it not?
Mhm.
Okay. And the thought adjuster is divinity, is it not?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So your thought adjuster is a spiritual part of divinity that's superimposed on a physical being that it cannot leave until you die. Okay. So when you do the will of God the Father, divinity, right? When you do the will of God the Father, you superimpose spirituality over on top of physical reality. Okay? And you do this by putting this will of God on top of the physical mind circuit, which is given to us by the beings that implanted all the life all the way around
It's a building block.
it's a building block. Okay. So when you do just your will, what are you doing? You're using your evolutionary right to use free will. Okay. But it's totally mindal. It's part of the mind circuit. It's part of the local universe mother spirit and you, but it is not what? Divine, even though it comes from the local universe mother spirit. Why is it not divine? Because it's not from God the Father. Okay. But caveat in this is this. If you attune your will with God the Father's will, any action you do in this life, I don't care what it is, when you make a decision and it's part of the will of God, what is it? It's a divine decision. Do you see where it comes in there?
Mhm.
You see how God's will, if you allow it to, can superimpose on your will, and then every decision you make can have a part of divinity in it.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? That
Yes,
don't mean you should sit around and say, well, God told me to buy a house or a new Corvette. Should it? You think God does things like that?
no.
No.
I don't think he cares.
He don't care. That's exactly right. Just like he don't care if you're a man or a woman. Doesn't matter. Not in the least to him. Why? Because God the Father, God the Son, and God the Spirit, the infinite Spirit, are what? Both male and female. There is no differentiation. They call him God the Father so we understand the concept of fatherhood, right? That's why he's called God the Father, but you can call him God the Mother. That's just fine. Or the Son, God the Son, the Mother, because he's the mother of all spiritual beings. Make sense? All
Strange.
right. Strange. I'm going to try to get off this first paragraph here. All
Yeah,
right. I have these little things of knowledge, and I just have to share them with y'all. I don't know why.
that's cool. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why you come to these silly meetings, right?
Probably.
Well, you sure narrowed that thing down.
Well, I just killed all my screens here.
Lord.
Well, you got to the point.
Yeah, really. Let me see if I can hit escape and bring them all back. There we go. Okay, Pam, you're next. Would you take the next one, please?
They are persistent, ingenious, and perfect in their methods of work, but they never do violence to the volitional selfhood of their hosts. No human being will ever be spiritualized by a divine monitor against his will. Survival is a gift of the gods, which must be desired by the creatures of time. In the final analysis, whatever the adjuster has succeeded in doing for you, the records will show that the transformation has been accomplished with your cooperative consent. You will have been a willing partner with the adjuster and in the attainment of every step of the tremendous transformation of the ascension career.
So it's all depends on your free will, then, doesn't it? Any way you look at it. And it's interesting here too. He says that survival is a gift of the gods, which must be desired by the creatures of time. So if you don't desire to survive past this world, do you go on?
No.
No. That's why Jesus always says, let's go save some souls. You have to put that in the human psyche for it to come out, right? It's not an automatic.
And then I think about like so many people in North Korea that hate the life they're living
Yeah.
and may not want to go on. What's the use?
Mm-hmm.
You
But
know?
the fact is, though, Rodney, that every individual has the opportunity to conceive of survival and going on, regardless of what your circumstances are. That's what it tells us. It says ignorance, circumstance, all these things of life, because life is so diverse. All these things of life will not keep you out of the mansion worlds.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, no matter what happens. Okay.
And
Let
a
me put it
question
this.
for you.
Let me put it this way before you do, Gary. You think all those people in Auschwitz and places like that that were tortured and killed by the Nazis, you think that those people did not survive because they didn't know Jesus?
No,
No,
they survived.
they survived. They believe in God, right? That's all it takes is faith. So get that out of your head. You know, that's a bunch of Christian nonsense. Okay. So go ahead, Gary.
If you look at North Korea, And if we believe the information that we've gotten on North Korea, it's despicable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we as a human race have an obligation to step in?
I would think so.
I
As
mean,
I would agree. I would agree it's our responsibility to step in and enlighten these people, right? But we have to remember enlightenment is a choice. It doesn't come automatically. There's a lot of people walking around this planet that are not enlightened, and that includes Christians, Jews, Muslims, every type of religion you can think that are not enlightened. They've been drilled this religious theology that is incorrect, but they believe it and they'll make it to the mansion worlds, right? But it's still not enlightenment. The enlightenment we're talking about is what we're reading right here, right? I watched a 14-minute video from some guy 5 years ago, ditching the Urantia book. Okay. And the beginning of it sounded pretty good, but at the end, he basically discounted the whole Urantia book because it uses so many quotes from human beings. And it tells us right in the book that they did that on purpose so that we would understand it. And he called the whole book plagiarized. I'm sitting there thinking, this guy's a dip. He's an
Roger,
idiot, you know?
I looked at some of these videos. I actually intentionally looked at critical stuff of the Urantia book a
Yeah.
couple weeks back to see if there was validity in the criticism. And this one guy who claimed he knew everything knew nothing.
Yeah.
The first 2 points he made were false. I then decided I didn't need to go any further because he
Yeah.
Correct.
definitely didn't understand what he was talking about.
That's where most of it comes from, Gary, is a lack of understanding. I don't get on here and just spout out things for an hour, 2 hours a week for the fun of it. The reason I do it is because I'm hoping the things we talk about and discuss here enlightens people on understanding the book. And the whole problem with most of these criticisms is they don't understand the book. They don't understand what they're reading. And I understand them not understanding. It took me years to get a grasp of this. It's not something you read once and I got it. So that is part of the problem. Wouldn't you say, Gary, most of the stuff you've read is like that?
Well, I do not know how many years I have been studying this book, passively or whatever. And it is now at this point that I am starting to get a clear understanding. And I'll tell you one thing, it's been definitely over 10 years.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think I'm stupid.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't think I am either. That's the thing.
Matter of fact, I'm probably been told otherwise. But anyways,
That reminds me, Gary, don't hang up on me tonight until I get to talk to you in private because I got the email you sent me. I may have something that you'd like to have, the woodworking stuff. So anyway.
okay.
Okay. All right. So let's go on. Jane, would you take the next one, please?
The adjuster is not trying to control your thinking as such, but rather to spiritualize it, to eternalize it. Neither angels nor adjusters are devoted directly to influencing human thought. That is your exclusive personality prerogative. The adjusters are dedicated to improving, modifying, adjusting, and coordinating your thinking processes. But more especially and specifically, they are devoted to the work of building up spiritual counterparts of your careers, Morontia transcripts of your true advancing selves for survival purposes.
Notice here it says they are not devoted to influencing your human thought. No, neither are the angels. Okay. All your thoughts are your free will. What they're trying to do is build up spiritual counterparts of your career so that when you get to the Morontia level, the true transcripts of yourself is worth surviving and taking on through the mansion worlds. Okay, so if you think about it, the adjuster is developing a divine transcript of your own life. That's the way you look at it. Okay, so that's why they call it adjusters. It adjusts it so it's more spiritual. Okay, Gary, would you take the next one?
Adjusters work in the spheres of the higher level of the human mind, unceasingly seeking to produce Morontia duplications of every concept of the mortal. Did we read this before?
No.
No.
Okay. Of
No.
every concept of mortal intel. There are therefore two realities which impinge upon and are centered in the human mind circuits. One, a mortal self evolved from the original plans of the life carriers. The other, an immortal entity from the high spheres of divinity, an indwelling gift from God. But the mortal self is also a personal self. It is personal. Explain.
Okay,
Confused.
so one of them has personality. Who's got the personality? You do, right? The thought adjuster is pre-personal. Okay? Your concept and your thinking and your will is on a mortal level, right? A conscious level. The adjuster is on a spiritual level, and he works on the super conscious. You're not aware that he's even working. Okay. So, in order to get that super consciousness in your life, you have to make the decision to do the will of the Father. So that what does that do? That adds personality to the adjuster. Can you see that? Because you have the personality when you choose to do the will of God the Father, that gives your personality rights to the adjuster. So by deciding to do the will of God, you're giving the thought adjuster personality for whatever project you're working on. Okay, so it's two separate things. You're of two minds all the time. You're of the physical mind or the mortal mind or the brain, right? Your other mind, the superconscious minds of divinity, God the Father, and the will of God. But you only get divinity in your life by bringing those two minds together, giving the thought adjuster personality, and he gives you spirituality and instructions on how to do your life on the conceived plan of God the Father.
Roger,
Okay. Yeah.
just curious, how do we determine what the will of God is on a daily basis in our many decisions?
Every decision you make of importance, you ask yourself, what would God want me to do? What would be
That's
the will of
what
God?
I've read.
Yeah. What should I
How do you
do
know
to
he's
do?
answering?
You don't. It's on a super conscious level, Gary. You don't ever know he's answering.
Well, if it doesn't turn out the right way, you know that
It
you
wasn't
didn't get
right.
it.
Yeah, that's right. It's trial and error, right? But you see here how it says here, there are therefore two realities which impinge upon are centered in the human mind circuits. That's the mind circuits of all the universe, right? The human mind circuits. All right. And those mind circuits are part of the original life carriers that gave us life. So when they gave us life, they plugged us into this mind circuit of the local universe mother spirit, right? And we're automatically plugged into that from birth. But the immortal entity that comes from Divinington or that thought adjuster comes when? At about 5 to 6 years old, right? So that doesn't get plugged in to your super conscious mind till about that age. Why do you think the thought adjuster doesn't come to about 5 or 6? Yeah,
Well, once you can distinguish what a moral choice is.
that's right. Now, why would it be then that he comes? Because he would have absolutely nothing to do
Right.
until you made that first choice, would he?
Till he knows you can
That's
choose.
right. Up to that point, you automatically go to heaven, as they say. You go to the mansion worlds automatically, don't you? So after that point, you have the free will opportunity to do the will of God or not do the will of God, right? And that's why you have to make that first moral choice. You know, it used to bother me that God didn't come to live in us until we were 5 or 6 years old. I used to think, what a waste, how about all those growing years? But he didn't have anything to do until you could distinguish between what's moral and what's immoral. Okay? Not a thing to do. The rest of it, the angels take care of, right?
Gary's
What?
got a question.
Yeah, Gary.
I had a strange experience when I was young, and I'm talking at 3 or 4 year age,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't understand. Let's put it this way, I was tall enough to be a head taller than the sofa pillows, the
Hmm.
pillows on the uh, sofa. Okay, I remember thinking about God, and I did not come from a religious family. God was not mentioned. I don't think my parents owned a Bible.
Yeah.
Okay. And I looked over at the window on the door, and I still remember to this day. And on about the same height of my eyesight, I saw an image of Jesus in the
Yeah.
window,
Right.
about that big.
Yeah.
Uh, Explain that to me. I don't understand that.
It's going to explain a little bit further in this paper when it talks about dreams.
That I
Okay,
was
so
wide awake.
no,
I
that
was
you
3, 4 years old. That was
doesn't matter.
that was 75 years ago.
Yeah, that it doesn't matter. It works the same. Okay, you can have awake dreams that are as real as your dreams when you're asleep. Okay, and I can tell you that from hypnosis for so many years. Okay, but that is part of your subconscious and conscious mind interacting in your own psyche. It's got nothing to do with religion or anything else. Okay. I'm just telling you. That's my opinion of
So I
what you've
wasn't,
experienced.
the thought
It
adjuster
wasn't your
was,
thought adjuster coming. No. Unless you made a moral decision at that point, it could have been that. But no, there was some influence in your life that made that superimposition of Jesus on that particular situation. Okay. And it happens to us in our dream states and that kind of thing all the time. If you try to diagnose what your dreams are trying to tell you, you're wasting your valuable time because they're disjointed parts of your conscious and subconscious mind that are trying to make some sense out of all the crazy things that have happened in your life. It's got
Sure.
nothing to do with your superconscious.
I
Okay.
agree.
Yeah. All
okay,
right.
so
Don't want to discount it, Gary, but that's what I really think it is at that age. Because we have a lot of things happen to us when we're children that sometimes just doesn't make any sense at all. That's for sure. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Let's see who's up next. Rodney, did you just read?
I
I
have
did,
no,
I think.
Huh? You
I
just
think
read.
I just read.
Okay. Rodney, would you take the next one?
yes, I was just thinking about the people in North Korea, and my mother and I just read in the Jesus papers where the Heavenly Father always responds to the slightest flicker of faith.
The slightest inkling of a flicker of faith, the smallest thing humanly possible. Yeah, always responds
Always
to that.
respond.
Yeah.
Okay, you as a personal creature have mind and will. The adjuster, as a pre-personal creature, has pre-mind and pre-will. If you so fully conform to the adjuster's mind that you see eye to eye, then your minds become one, and you receive the reinforcement of the adjuster's mind. Subsequently, if your will orders and enforces the execution of the decisions of this new or combined mind, the adjuster's pre-personal will attains to personality expression through your decision. And as far as that particular project is concerned, you and the adjuster are one. Your mind has attained to divinity attunement, and the adjuster's will has achieved personality expression.
You see how it works?
I gotta reread that or something. That's
That's
too profound. I gotta make a note.
That
Sorry,
is
people.
very
Yeah. It is very important because when you conform to the adjuster's mind, that's what it's saying. When you see eye to eye with the adjuster, your mind and the adjuster's mind, we're talking about the mind circuit, the physical mind, and the divine mind becomes one, and that oneness reinforces your mind. Okay, so everything you do in that decision, whatever you're working on, whatever project you have, or whatever, becomes a project of a new combined mind. You give personality to the adjuster gives you divinity, and because the adjuster has personality and you have divinity, these two minds come together and work it out to the will of God. Does that make sense? Okay, so the combining of these two makes all your decisions for that particular project what? Of divinity. All right, that's why it says here, your mind has attained to divinity attunement. By doing the will of God, you have attuned your mind to the divine mind. Okay, and the adjuster has expression of personality because of that.
correct.
So that pre-personal being suddenly has personality during that particular process.
Which it craves.
Yeah, which it craves, right? So every time you do this, it does what? It becomes habitual. Okay, so if you habitually choose the will of God, you can eventually live your whole entire life doing the will of God.
Roger,
Yeah.
it's so important for me personally to try my best to do the will of God. And because it's so important, that is the reason that I study the Urantia Book, because I want to get more educated so I can make a better decision.
Yeah. Yeah. Your decisions not only come from your own mind, but your decisions come from your experience. And where you get that experience from studying this book so much. Okay. So the wisdom and the things, those 125 quotes from other wise men of our planet that they stuck in this book, that wisdom becomes your wisdom. And you do it unconsciously. You pull from the things that become part of your life. And what has become part of your life? The Urantia Book, right? So when you are asked a question or you respond to a question, you draw from all the things in your own mind. And if the things in your mind are coming from this book, what are you going to respond with? enlightenment, won't you?
Correct.
You will seem like the wisest person in the world, right?
To yourself.
To yourself, anyway, right? I can tell you one thing, I'm not wise at all. You step me away from this book, I'm not that smart. I know a lot of miscellaneous things. You know, my wife says I know a lot of stuff, don't I do?
Did she use the word stuff?
Okay, so let's go on to the next one. All right, let's see who's up next. Lech is up next.
Lech.
Okay. To the extent that this identity is realized, you are mentally approaching the Morontia order of existence. Morontia mind is a term signifying the substance and sum total of the cooperating minds of diversely material and spiritual natures. Morontia intellect, therefore, connotes a dual mind in the local universe dominated by one will. And with mortals, this is a will, human in origin, which is becoming divine through man's identification of the human mind with the mindedness of God.
Okay, that one paragraph just explained to you what you become when you die, right? It explains to you you become a Morontia being, okay? And the way you become a Morontia being, you add your physical mind or your mind starting out with the spiritual mind, and that steps you into the Morontia existence. Now, interesting part of this is this. You can do that in this life, right? You can go through your entire life building your Morontia moda or wisdom. You can build go through your entire life improving your wisdom and your Morontia moda by doing what? Doing the will of God, right? Following God's will in your life, okay? Because they call it right here, this is man's identification of the human mind with the mindedness of what? God.
That's what happened to Eli, I understand, that
Yeah.
ascended. And I think there was one other, Eli
Elijah and Enoch.
Enoch.
Right.
And Jane's got a question.
Yes, Jane.
Actually, this paragraph answered the first question that I had. So this can happen in our mortal life here.
Yes.
It can begin here. And the other question that still remains then is, speaking personally now, there is, let's say, a decision that I may find very, very difficult to know if I go to the left or I go to the right. And I may have been, I won't use the word tormented, but I've been analyzing something and I don't know whether I should keep walking that way or maybe I should drop that. And I don't know what the will of God is for me in that regard. It doesn't hurt anybody if I no longer, let's say, participate in a group.
Yeah.
You know, will it really matter? Not really in life and that. But would the will of God, let's say, just to give an example, whether I come to this group or not, would that be something that the will of God matters in such a thing?
Yes, it will, because with each exposure to knowledge, regardless of where the knowledge comes from, whether it's from this book or somewhere else, but with each exposure to knowledge, you grow mentally, physically, spiritually, right? So by being exposed to different things, it exposes you to growth. And that's what this life is really about, isn't it? About growth, more than anything else. And so, yeah, it matters. And it matters to your thought adjuster, because if your thought adjuster feels like you're getting more spiritual food or enlightenment from one thing other than another, it's probably going to encourage you super consciously to go back to the thing that's always going to give you the most benefit, right? So if you chose the wrong direction, the thought adjuster will work with you as best it can in that wrong direction, but it may constantly put this little thought in the back of your head, maybe I should go back to the other thing again.
Hmm.
You know
And
what I'm
doesn't it
saying?
also have something to do with like when she's trying to decide, it's like, how do you feel? Do you feel good about going this way? Or do you feel
Yeah,
better about, using your own inner sense of tuning in?
yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think it matters. I think every decision we make like that, Jane, matters. Every single one of them. And it really it comes back to, where are you getting your spiritual food from, in all the decisions of your life. Because this not only happens in studying the book and other things, but it happens in your family life. It happens in your everyday activities, and you're going out and doing different things. It happens constantly, really. Right?
Thank you.
Yeah, Rodney.
This paragraph here that Let's read, especially the latter part of it, reminds me so much of Jesus up until the time he was baptized. He was the Son of Man
Yes.
and the Son of God, and it's just what we go through.
That's a dual mind, is it not? It's just like they're talking about here. Mortals are of dual mind all the time, right? The Morontia intellect connotes a dual mind in the local universe dominated by one will. What is that saying? That we have a human mind, but we also have a Morontia mind. That's the dual mind, right? And they come together trying to discover and follow one will, and that's the will of God the Father, right? Makes sense?
I think a lot of it has to do with your own intuition and experience, and you basically choose to do God's will by applying what's happened in your life, what you've read, what you've done, your sum total of your experiences, and you have to question yourself when you're making a new decision. Is this the right thing? Is this the will of God that I'm choosing from my past life experiences?
I
Something
think
like
that's
that.
right on the money. I do too. Diane, would you take the next one, please?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jane.
Cooperation with the adjuster. My wife's going to read this.
Adjusters are playing the sacred and superb game of the ages. They are engaged in one of the supreme adventures of time and space. And how happy they are when your cooperation permits them to lend assistance in your short struggles of time as they continue to prosecute their larger task of eternity. But usually, when your adjuster attempts to communicate with you, the message is lost in the material currents of the energy streams of human mind. Only occasionally do you catch an echo, a faint and distant echo of the divine voice.
Isn't that interesting? It talks about only now and then you catch that echo of the divine choice. This is, when I was talking about earlier in our dream state, this is the problem with dreams. We think we catch this echo of a divine voice when we're sleeping. And then we wake up and we justify this echo that we think we've heard when we're asleep, and we misinterpret it. You know, I know I've done this many times myself, just on that place where we're half awake and half asleep, and you think you get a message from God, and you wake up and go, I know what to do now, right? When in essence, it's your mind just playing tricks on you, going through its old exercise of thinking about too many different things, So it's kind of interesting. Okay. Here, a second.
So you're saying that the old technique is if you think about it or sleep on it over a question overnight and you wake up in the morning with the answer, it's poppycock?
Not always, no. No, you can get answers that way too, Gary.
Okay.
We can't hear you, Rodney.
I've had problems in construction or even electronics.
Mm-hmm.
There was such a problem, but I'll think about it, I'll go to sleep. When I wake up, it's like, I know what to do now.
Yeah, you got it, right? Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. And that works sometimes. But let me put it this way, in spiritual matters, if it's a major decision, I would think twice about getting up and running out and starting my own church or whatever. It may not be the thing to do, may very well not be the thing to do. So just telling y'all from past experience. Okay. Let's keep going. Let's see. Pam, I believe you're up again.
Okay. Success of your adjuster in the enterprise of piloting you through the mortal life and bringing about your survival depends not so much on the theories of your beliefs as upon your decisions, determinations, and steadfast faith. All these movements of personality growth become powerful influences aiding in your advancement because they help you to cooperate with the adjuster. They assist you in ceasing to resist. Thought adjusters succeed or apparently fail in their terrestrial undertakings just insofar as mortals succeed or fail to cooperate with the scheme whereby they are to be advanced along the ascending path of the perfection attained. The secret of survival is wrapped up in the supreme human desire to be godlike and in the associated willingness to do and be any and all things which are essential to the final attainment of that overmastering desire.
That's the real key, isn't it? The hard part is the desire to be godlike, but the hard part is the next part, associated willingness to do and be any and all things which are essential. Did y'all see that?
Yes.
And final attainment of the desire. Any and all things. We let our own human pride get in the way. We let our own human will getting in the way to do what God desires us to do. Okay. So that willingness to do all those things, and notice up at the beginning of this, it talks about this. It's not just your beliefs. It's not just your psyche of your beliefs. It's your decisions, determinations, and steadfast faith. What's Jesus always told us? By faith, you are saved, right? You have to be steadfast in that all the time. Because I can tell you, to do any and all things that are essential is not a popular thing to do. You're not going to be Mr. Popular if you do this. Okay? That's just the way it is. Just warn you about that. Okay. Let's see. Jane, would you take the next one again, please?
When we speak of an adjuster's success or failure, we are speaking in terms of human survival. Adjusters never fail. They are of the divine essence, and they always emerge triumphant in each of their undertakings.
So the adjusters never fail to allow someone to survive. That's what they're telling us. You see that?
Yeah.
The adjusters
That doesn't make sense.
well, they never fail because they do everything they humanly, they divinely can to get you to make the decision to survive because of free will, though. It's always your decision. It's not God's decision. It's your decision to survive.
And that
Basically,
doesn't mean that they have failed.
That doesn't mean they have failed. No,
basically they have presented a good case and you decided not to.
right. Because you have free will.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what it boils down to. When you choose not to survive, what does that mean? It's a final decision, you know, and you've heard me say this over and over again. When you make that final decision, and the decision to survive is just as final as if you decide not to survive. Okay? Because if you choose to survive, there is nothing, no one, no circumstance, nothing in this life that can keep that survival opportunity from you. It's a gift from God. It's the only thing in your life that you do nothing to deserve. Nothing you do in your life makes you deserving of survival. It's a gift from God. Okay? So if you go at it thinking, well, I deserve to survive, that's the wrong attitude, right? None of us deserve to survive. But thank God we do. Okay, where are we here? We're out of time. I don't think I want to start on this paragraph. Yes, I am going to read this last paragraph, and then we may come back and take it again next week too. Let me read this myself. I cannot but observe that so many of you spend so much time and thought on the mere trifles of living, while you almost wholly overlook the more essential realities of everlasting import. These very accomplishments which are concerned with the development of a more harmonious working agreement between you and your adjuster. The great goal of human existence is to attune to the divinity of the indwelling adjuster. The great achievement of mortal life is the attainment of a true and understanding consecration to the eternal aims of the divine spirit who works within your mind. But a devoted and determined effort to realize eternal destiny is wholly compatible with a lighthearted and joyous life and with a successful and honorable career on earth. Cooperation with the thought adjuster does not entail self-torture, mock pity, or piety or hypocritical and ostentatious self-abasement. The ideal life is one of loving service rather than an existence of fearful apprehension. Wow, that says it all, doesn't it?
Powerful.
I have nothing to say. That's where we're going to quit tonight.
Well, that knocks
Huh?
the existence of fearful apprehension, rather, that knocks the crud out of many religious beliefs where you're supposed to
It
be in
does.
fear of God.
Yeah.
Right.
And
And if you think taking a whip and whipping yourself is a good idea to impress God, I don't think so.
no,
All
mock
right.
piety,
Piety, right?
hypocritical and ostentatious self-abuse.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I think that when somebody asks, what is the meaning of life, that question is answered in this paragraph.
It is. It is. It says it perfectly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's have a little prayer and we will quit there tonight. Gary, would you like to close us in prayer tonight? By the way, don't go anywhere. When we
Okay,
Go. Okay.
I will give it a shot.
Okay.
Dear Father, let us listen deeply and try to hear the voice of our own individual thought adjusters so we may be guided in our daily thinking thought process so that we may come to you quicker and cleaner and faster. Amen.
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 Man,
And thank all
Amen.
those who come and join us every other night, whenever it is. And we hope you all always get something interesting out of it. Anyway,
Well, today was very interesting.
yes, everyone is interested.
You, you know,
Yeah,
Roger, one time Diane told us, not me, us. I'm talking about you, Diane. You can unmute. That you, Roger, would like to ask your waitress if she came and served you, what's the meaning? Why are you here? What's your purpose on earth and stuff like this?
right.
Copy this last paragraph and
There
give
you
it.
go. That's it. That's the meaning of life. Actually, my short answer is to serve God. That's what the meaning of life is, right? It really is. That's the whole meaning of life. It's not about us. It's about serving God, right?
this was a good paper.
It's a really good paper. It's got more coming. That's even, we're going to talk about the 7 psychic circles in the next couple ones. So, and that's really, really interesting. Too bad we can't actually tell exactly where we are, but it's an interesting concept. Okay, y'all. Well, I will plan on seeing you soon. See you next Tuesday if the creek don't
Good.
rise. All right, y'all have a great one.
Love
Thank you.
I'll say goodbye to
you.
everybody but Gary. I'm going to end the, well, of course, if I end it, then I won't be able to talk to Gary, but I need to stop the recording. Let me do this.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody. Good night.
Good
you
night.
too.
Stop recording. Stop recording. There we go.
Oh, it's just the 3 of us, 4 of us,
Yeah,
3 of us.
give me 1 second. I'm got one more to turn off over here. I'm gonna leave on this one.